Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dhwani, and I represent And Academy, which is a part of IIAD. So today's webinar is about interior design and mainly how to transform your career with design. So we are focusing on the insights of this course called interior design. Today we have with us Prachi ma'am, who is a designer and educator with more than 20 years of experience in the academy and in the industry. We have Snehanshu sir, who is an architect with more than 38 years of experience in the field of design and architecture, and Kanika ma'am, who is a commercial interior designer and in like working in the field of design since long. So I would like to request Prachi ma'am to take over from here.
Thank you, Dhwani, and good evening to everybody. We are excited that you are here and you have given us this opportunity to share with you what we have to offer as an upskilling opportunity in the field of interior design. I just want to quickly talk about the journey from IIAD to AND. So some of you may be aware that IIAD is a leading design school. We are based out of Delhi. And we offer courses in design, fashion design, communication design, interior architecture design. And 2 years ago, all of us were hit with COVID. And so without us wanting to, without not as a choice for us, we all had to shut down campuses and we had to go into remote teaching. There was a choice in front of us. We could have either, sort of waited out for the pandemic. At that time, 2 years ago, none of us knew how long this is going to last. We could have waited for the pandemic to get over. But we just, I mean, I think that's how we work at IIAD. We just took it head on. We had a commitment to our students and we had to make this work without a campus, without a studio. To cut a long story short, I think these 2 years of pandemic have challenged our deeply held beliefs for everybody. And so it did for us at IIAD as design educators. I can speak from a personal space where I never thought that we could teach design without a studio, without a campus. But the last 2 years showed us, they challenged us and they showed us that it is possible. We innovated. It was a steep learning curve for us, but we innovated. We did a lot of tech integration. It challenged our teaching methods, but we were able to crack how to deliver design online, remotely, with these digital screens of our laptops in between us, effectively and without compromising the future of our students. And this achievement led us to sow the seeds of And Academy, which is an design upskilling platform that aims to make design education accessible, affordable, and industry relevant. We have with us the experience of the past few years and of placing our own graduates and seeing them function in the industry. And we have been able to identify certain niches where there is a lot of talent demand. There's a lot of work in the industry and not enough practitioners, not enough well-qualified industry-ready practitioners who can take up this work. And that need assessment, that understanding of this opportunity area, and the fact that we were able to crack how to effectively deliver design education online, with these two coming together, we are able to launch And Academy. And today, we are going to talk about one of the courses. These are all the courses that we offer in the space of communication design and interior design. And today's webinar is focusing on our course in interior design. And before we go into what and Academy has to offer as part of the online learning space, I think it's important for us to delve a little bit into what do we mean by interior design, because in my experience as an educator, I've often come across youngsters who have some notions about what interior design is. There are confusions around interior decoration, architecture, interior design. Are there sufficient opportunities for interior design, or is it only confined to architects? So on and so forth. And I thought that I'll bring in my colleagues from IIAD, Snehanshu Mukherjee, who's the course leader for our interior architecture program at IIAD, and Kanika, who's a lecturer on the program. And both of them are instrumental in coming up with the offering at And Academy for Interior Design. And so I'm going to hand over to Kanika. Kanika, over to you. Let's talk about what is interior design.
Thank you, Prachi. I'll just start sharing my screen at this time, and we'll be passing on the forum to Snehanshu to begin with. So if you may allow me to share my screen, it says...
okay, Dhwani can do that. Dhwani?
Yes, ma'am, I've already done that.
Kanika, you can try again.
Sure, thank you. So Snehanshu, over to you for you to begin just addressing the audience on what interior design is, and I'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you, Kanika. So as you can all see, we are talking about interior design here, and the next few slides before Kanika comes back will be trying to explain what all we are going to be doing in this webinar. So we'll start with what is interior design, then go on to explain the difference between interior design, styling, and architecture. What can an interior designer do or not do? And then, of course, why interior design? What would you learn? Potential career options, and finally, what you would create. So this is how the webinar has been broken up into these following chapters, and we'll take them up one by one. So let's go to the next one, Kanika, next slide. So what you can see is there are going to be images on the side which kind of represent the kind of work that interior designers do. So these, as you can make out, are not the actual place, but the way we imagine the place to become. So what is interior design? Interior design, as you can see, we've got these bullet points here saying that it transforms spaces through design. So we are all used to living in an interior, which is largely homes, but then also offices and shops and clinics and nursing homes, all sorts of spaces we tend to live within. So what do we design in them? How do we transform them? So the next point says that this deals with the symbiotic human and environment relationship. So what we're trying to do is to create an environment that is conducive to living. And just left by itself, the space in itself may not be able to do so. And one of the important things that we deal with is to maximize the usage of the space, the floor space. We make sure there's no space is wasted in the planning of that space. We worry about the way the place should appear. It should be psychologically pleasing. It should induce the work you're supposed to be doing in there. And to do all of this, we have to know how to deal with materials, all the services that go with it, and the construction of the entire interior. So it starts from the design aspects, where you start thinking about what you should be designing, and it involves programming. So the whole extended part of designing, which is really about design thinking, as you can see in the next point, uh, which actually tells you what to build and how to build. And then finally, we need to work with vendors, with other professionals from the industry who give their inputs to create an aesthetically pleasing and a functional interior. We modify existing spaces. So that means that we work within existing structures, within existing buildings, and within them, we need to visualize, plan, and design these spaces through ideation, which means that it's not as if you get the answer the very first time. You have to do several trials about your ideas. Some you reject, some you keep, and in the process, you come up with the final version of what that interior is. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, what's the difference really between interior styling, decoration, and architecture? So, I think if you go to the next slide, you'll get some pointers on this. But essentially, what we need to think of, the first thing to clarify is that architects make the building, and interior designers come into the existing spaces that the architect has created, the rooms or the halls or the passages or the reception, whatever that building holds. They need to be able to make that building within which we as interior designers operate. So naturally, an architect can also work as an interior designer, but not every architect enters this field at all. Now, what is interior styling? It's really about, it's like almost like surface decoration. What can you do? Can you change the color? Can you change the curtains? Can you change the upholstery? That is roughly what is meant by in terms of interior styling. Yeah, was somebody saying something?
No, Snehanshu, I think you can just go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So styling often turns out to be a part of the interior design. It's not. Kanaya, could you go back, please, to the previous slide? Yeah, thanks. So styling is often a part of the interior designer's role, which comes actually later. But then including that of a decorator, an interior decorator. So an interior decorator and a stylist is somebody who, in my opinion, comes in, or their roles come in towards the end of the design project, which therefore an interior designer also attempts or does. But that's not all that they do. So I think this is a very important distinction that needs to be made here, that interior design is more than styling and decoration. It involves many of the activities that an architect would be carrying out. But we confine ourselves to the space within the walls of the building, which the architect has put up. So that's what the differences are. And let's go to the next slide, please. So what can you do as an interior designer? Here again, you have an example of what an interior designer has thought of the space. So these are the things that you need to do. So you do space planning for a new user experience. Space planning also means that you come up with a very efficient sort of space which works perfectly, helps the persons inhabiting that space to be able to do whatever tasks they're required to do very efficiently, whether it is a small bathroom or it's a reception lobby or whatever it might be. Then, of course, we transform the space. We get the space as a shell, or there may be an existing interior already sitting within it, but we find that today it is no longer relevant, so we go ahead and transform it. You do things like material selection and lighting. You choose the lighting fittings depending on the kind of lighting that is required, whether it is for working or is it for ambience. You supervise the construction on site with the construction documents that you create. And of course, refurbishing and remodeling of the spaces. As I said, if there is an existing interior already in it, you refurbish it, you remodel it. You also coordinate with a host of vendors because there are various products that you will introduce or services that you will introduce into that interior. Right from sanitary fittings to lighting fixtures to upholsteries to curtains, they're all basically products that the vendors bring to your table when you are designing or you're coming to the final stages of designing. You should prepare the cost estimates and the quantification. So that gives you an idea of how much the project is going to cost before you actually start it. And that is a key thing that you need to discuss with all your clients apart from the design itself. And to explain things well to the client, you need to do 3D visualizations for that space. In the past, it was done in an analogous manner, which means that you did hand drawings, watercolors, pastels. But today, things have become easier. There are simple software techniques by which you can create reasonably realistic visualization of the space. And of course, you could, if the client desires you to, do a theme-based design. So a client may have a liking for a certain theme, and the usual themes that one can think of is like Mediterranean, Kashmiri, uh, Marathi. I mean, there's no end to themes. It could be modern, it could be antique, it could be classical, whatever way. So now that is something that usually comes from the client's end. So what can you not do as an interior designer? Basically, you should not get into tampering with the structure of the building. You should know what not to break down and what not to make. So those of you who've been following the disaster in Gurgaon, you would have realized that there were some structural changes most likely made on that site, and that's what brought the slabs down, killing a couple of people, very unfortunately. So we have to be very careful that you do not carry out removals of walls, beams, columns, make very large openings. For that, you always have the structural consultant to come in and advise you and get that person to create the necessary documents and drawings to do it. So basically, you are not functioning as an architect. You're not making a new building. You are not structurally altering an existing building to fit your design into it. You work within what is existing. But even within what is existing, a huge amount is possible. A huge amount of designing is possible. And it transforms the spaces entirely into something completely new. So I'll ask Kanika to please continue and explain further.
Thank you, Stanchu. Those were very useful insights. Moving on to why interior design, I think some of you might be very excited to know that why you should pursue this as a profession or as a course at this time. And I think it's very important to understand that if you look at the industry today, at this time, there are more than 1 lakh freelance interior designers in demand. If you look at just this from a statistical point of view, the growth rate of the demand of interior designers has increased to an 8.5%, which is between 2019 to 24. And interior designer jobs in the next 1 decade are expected to rise at a 13%. So with that sort of demand in the industry, where we're looking at a $30 million worth industry in India, there are so many key areas that you can move into. Some of them being residential design, commercial interiors, retail design. You could also get into home decor, interior styling, space planning. You could also do design consultancy. So with that said, some of you might also think, what will you really learn as part of this course? There are a lot of things that are a part of this curriculum, where some of them that I'd like to talk about are right here in front of the screen for you. You'd be able to understand a lot of conceptualizations. So you will ideate and develop design concepts. That could be for a very small area to a very large area as well. That is from a room to an office. You will also learn the principles of Vastu Shastra. And I think a lot of clients now, and especially Indian clients, are moving towards the principles of Vastu. You'd also be able to now select the right kind of colors, the finishes, the furnishings, materials for your room. You'll be able to identify vendors, the right kind of vendors for wood versus ceiling versus flooring materials versus anything else that you were specifying as part of a renovation. You'll be able to launch your own interior design practice, because a lot of our other students as well move out and become entrepreneurs after pursuing an interior designer course. Then you'd also be able to now understand what user-centric design is, because design is supposed to be universal and spaces are designed universally for everybody to be able to use it in a functional manner. So an advantage that you also, I think, have with this course is that you are able to understand and get into the niche of project planning and management as well, which is very hard to find. So being able to manage a project from cost to quantification to being able to understand how to even visualize some of these projects digitally, which is through space models. And I can see some of these models on screen that a lot of our students do. And you'll be using like one of our programs like Flow Planner to do so. So what are the potential career options that we're looking at if you specialize in a career like interior design? You could then move on to be an experienced designer. You could design furniture. A lot of you might end up having more interest in kitchens, so you would become a kitchen designer. You could do a lot of lighting, and this is lighting for different spaces versus lighting for different sets. So many of my colleagues that I know are set designers and are into doing the physical surroundings of a set at a theatrical setting. Then you could also do production design, virtual merchandising for any of you for whom like virtual merchandising might be a new term. It really focuses on the optimizing of products and services, in which, for example, you have a lot of Chanel and other sort of cosmetic kiosks and shopping mall nowadays. And the idea is to engage your customers to make sure they are attracted. What kind of interior setup do you create for them to come at that kiosk and actually buy your products? So a lot of exciting things. And as I said, you can be an entrepreneur if you did not want to be any of these. So moving on from the potential career options, what will you really be creating as part of this course? This course will really empower you to understand how the design process is led, which is saying you'd understand, learn, and get trained in the design process for residential interior as well as a commercial interior. So residential could be something as small as a room, or your living room, your dining room, your entire residence, to commercial interiors, which could be an office or even a cafe for that matter. So again, the audience here might be thinking, how are we going to do all of this online? Is it even possible? Can I actually become an interior designer while I'm sitting on a screen? So those are some things I'd like Prachi to enlighten us on. And with that said, over to you, Prachi.
Thanks, Kanika. Thanks. I do hope that all of you were able to get some insights on what exactly interior design is, because before you get to know how you will learn, I think it's important to understand what is really the background of the profession that you can get into. And I'm just going to share my screen. And in the meanwhile, if you have any questions, there is on your screen a Q&A at the bottom. You can start typing in your questions, because I'm going to open this space for questions in just about maybe 5 minutes. But I thought the question that Kanika put up, and if I were in your place, or even 2 years ago, if I had to think about learning all this, I get excited listening to Snehanshu and Kanika about this, the work that I can do as an interior designer, but I would be left wondering that how will I learn it as part of IIAD Academy? So I thought we'll just quickly go over what we actually offer and why this makes sense. The first is that you have the opportunity to continue learning or working. I'm assuming that a lot of you who are here and have even a small tiny bit of interest in exploring this opportunity are probably either studying or are working. And none of us want to take a break from that and then add something else to our learning space. So with our conveniently scheduled evening classes, you don't have to leave your college during the day or your work during the day, and you can continue to learn with us in the evening. We will have 3 classes every week, and they will be online. Each class will be for 2 hours, and 2 of them will be on weekdays and 1 will be on a weekend. So that allows you to not leave what you are already doing, whatever it is in your life that you're doing right now, doesn't need to be interrupted. The courses that we are offering are very much about learning by making, because that is the core of design. You cannot just talk about design, you cannot learn design by watching, you learn design by making. And as I said at the beginning of this session, what we've managed to crack in the last 2 years is that how do we support students while they are learning by making, even through the online space. And that is something that is possible when you work on design briefs that resemble the kind of real world design problems that you will encounter as professionals. So we are committed to make you ready for your professional world, and for that, learning by making as you work on real world design briefs. And finally, an engaging online learning experience that combines human support and technology, because that, I think, is what is critical to learning design. Design is about, it's a new way of thinking that you learn, and that's complex to learn. So how do we do that? There will be, like I said, thrice a week live instructor-led sessions. And by that, I don't mean a session like it is today. It is a one-way communication where Snehanshu or Kanika or I'm just talking to you, and you are in the listening mode. That's not how it would be. You'll have chance to interact, put up questions. There would be activities that you would be working on with us during the session. And there will obviously be a little bit of work that you will take back from the session, which you will work on. So that's all hands-on working. And you will continuously be getting feedback to improve, feedback through the sessions, feedback even outside of the sessions. So you learn by interacting with people, your mentors as well as your peers. And so as I said, that you'll be making mistakes, you'll see how others work, and you'll discuss your work in progress. The next thing is by integrating technology. So we have a world-class learning management system, which we've been using throughout the pandemic. Through that, students can access class schedules, study material, assignments, make submissions, receive feedback all at one place. So you're not all over the place, you're at one portal through which you can access all this. So on one hand, you have the support of live support of mentors. On the other hand, you have technology that's supporting you through one, our learning management system, and second, by integrating various digital platforms. So there are platforms like Discord, Miro, that we would be working on, which will allow us to brainstorm together, which will allow you to work together with your peers also, because those are really the way learning and design happens. So human support and technology come together, and that's the real core offering. I thought it'll be also important for us to quickly go over. A lot of times, people who haven't experienced a live instructor-led session, they tend to think of online learning with pre-recorded courses, or they think that it's just a webinar like this. Now, here are some pros and cons that what you can get through a live instructor-led session, or what you can get on campus. And so at no stage are we saying that this is a substitute for an on-campus learning, but this is a very close experience. And if you do not want to relocate, if you don't want to quit your job or quit whatever you're doing at the moment to attend a full-time on-campus course, then an instructor-led online session allows you to understand complex concepts, work hands-on, build design outcomes, discuss your work with mentors, get feedback. And that is what gives you the ability to apply these learnings in the real world situation. And you build a professional network. So that's really where a live instructor-led online session, the benefits of it are. And so yeah, if that helps you understand what we are offering, I'm sure you can reach out to our counselors. And this is what the admission process looks like. If you still have questions, of course you can start posting them, and we'll be happy to take them. Snehanshu is here about the profession, about what you will do in the course, what you will do after the course. Both Kanika and Snehanshu are here. I'll pitch in where I can. The admission process is fairly simple. You submit an online application, you schedule an interview, and then you receive an offer letter. So Dhwani, that's what I have for all of you, and we can have we are now ready for taking some questions in case there are any.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. We'll request for questions. If anybody has anything to ask, please ask. Faculty members are here to answer them.
In the meanwhile, Dhwani, maybe there I see a question. Dhwani, you'll have to read it out to me because I'm not able to for some reason access.
Yeah, ma'am. So Amit Sinha has asked about the fees.
So I think, Dhwani, you can take that question.
Yes. So Amit, the fee is around 1 lakh, which can be paid into EMI options. So there are flexible EMI options. You can reach out to me personally. I'll explain you the whole process.
Maybe, Dhwani, you can prompt with some common questions that you've been encountering during your interactions, and that might be helpful for our attendees. There's another question.
Yeah, so there's a candidate, Archita Jain. She's asking for how many months the course will be. Is it for 3 months?
It's for 5 months. It's actually 26 weeks, so it's a little more than 5 months. 26 weeks, Archita. And that's a good time to learn. So 26 weeks and 6 hours of meeting us every week. That essentially comes to something like 156 hours, I think. That's a good time to get ready for some professional work.
So I have a question in the chat box. Mr. Vinay is asking about the admission.
The process of admission, I'm assuming?
I think so.
Okay, maybe if Mr. Vinay can clarify, but I'll still explain the admission process. So Vinay, you can reach out to our counselors if you need more clarification, or you can visit our website and download a brochure. Once you're convinced about the course, you can submit an online application, and we'll schedule an interview with you, just because we want to make sure that your aspirations and what we are going to be teaching in the course, they match. That's what the interview is about. And then once you clear the interview, you'll receive an offer letter, and that's the admission process.
And he's mentioned that when do the admissions start?
So they're live right now. They're live right now. So act now.
Yeah, so Mr. Vinay, the applications are out. You can complete the application. We'll schedule an interview round soon, and then we'll start. The session will begin in April. I hope, ma'am.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we have another question from Ishika. She's from a non-design background, but she wants to do interior design. So will that be beneficial for her, as she only wants to do one course?
Dhwani, I can take that question.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
despite that you might be from a non-design background, it'd be very beneficial if you pick up a course like interior design, given the demand and the advantages of being able to transform your own space and other people's spaces. But the only hint and clue that I'd give you is as far as you're interested. So if you have the interest, we have a lot to offer you. I hope that helps you, Ishika.
Thank you, Kanika. Do we have placements?
We'll assist you with placements. So let me just clarify also that the interior design course is also, the space is very open for entrepreneurs, for you to start your own practice. And that's why what Snehanshu and Kanika mentioned, there are inputs around working with contractors, vendors, to do costings. So there is a whole project management component to the course. But yes, we'll provide you with placement assistance.
There's another question. The course will be starting from the beginner level itself because I am interested in designing and I'm confused between graphic design or interior design. So how can I figure out between two of them?
Snehanshu, do you want to take that question or?
Yes, of course. Yes, it's quite natural to be confused about both these options. See, as Kanika said to the earlier question, that it has to be your interest. I wouldn't say that one course is better than the other. I think what is important is to understand that what are you really interested in? For instance, I studied architecture because I was very keenly interested in architecture. I had the option of doing engineering as well. In fact, I had admission into BITS Pilani, but I decided, no, that's not for me. So the same applies for anybody. I have always liked to be able to shape physical space. Whereas as a graphic designer or a communication designer, you would be largely working in the 2D format, which means you'll be doing things on paper, on screen, and what you build will be on a screen largely. Whereas as an interior architect or an interior designer, you would be developing the space that you inhabit or somebody else is inhabiting. So I think you need to look at it from that point of view, that finally, what is the field and what are you going to do in it? So I would recommend that you should attend the upcoming webinar on communication design as well, and that might help you make up your mind.
Yeah, thank you, Snehanshu. I think it's quite natural, like Snehanshu said, for young people to be confused about what exactly they want to do. If you go to a new place, do you notice the signs over there, the traffic signs, the billboards, the advertisements, or do you start noticing the kind of buildings that are there? When you go to a restaurant, do you start seeing that, oh, if this menu was designed like this menu card could have been designed like that? Are those the kind of thoughts that come to your head? Or do you start thinking about, ये curtain ऐसा नहीं होता, ये furniture ऐसे इधर के बदले उधर रखा होता, इसका ऐसा layout होता, इस space का? So, you can look at think about that. When you're watching a movie, do you tend to get fascinated by the way the titles have come across on the of the movie, or are you seeing the kind of sets that they have done and how that set is helping in the storytelling of the movie? So you can to explore where your interest is, you can look at these chota experiences that you have in your life and see what fascinates you. So from there you will get this little key of where your interest is. And like Snehanshu said, the other is that, so we are doing a webinar tomorrow for our options in communication design. It starts at the same time at 4 p.m. And two of my very senior and very knowledgeable colleagues are going to be joining. They're from the space of UX design and motion graphics. And so if you want more information, you can join that webinar, download the brochures of all the courses, go over what you will be learning in both the courses, and then take it up from there. But select what you're interested in, because we can only excel in what we love. If we love something, then we can excel in it. Any other question, Dhwani?
Yes, ma'am. So there's a person, Amit. I have been working as a graphic designer for 4 years. How would this help me from my previous experience?
So Amit, I'm trying to decipher your question. If you're saying that your background as a graphic designer, will it help you in this course? I think yes, because as a graphic designer, I'm sure you have learned how to compose things on a two-dimensional space. So you would have a basic sense of composition, of how to combine colors, how to combine shapes, forms. So that basic sense is there. And Snehanshu, I think that would then extend into three dimension.
Yes, absolutely. So the advantage is that from designing on a two-dimensional plane, you will be able to move into designing the third dimension. And you may be aware that there are, across the world, there have been many non-architect designers coming from the field of arts, even fine arts. In India, two very well-known names is one is M.F. Hussain, and the other is Satish Gujral, who have actually designed not just buildings but the spaces within them. And therefore, I feel that an artist or a graphic designer who works with the two-dimensional aspects of design will definitely bring an edge to the designs they do in the third dimension. And this course is actually about that. It teaches you how to, or it makes you understand, experience how you visualize in the third dimension. So yes, of course, as a graphic designer, you'll probably have an edge over those who have no design background at all.
And I'm also assuming that working as a graphic designer would help, would make him a little bit digital friendly, and that will help him adapt to the softwares
Absolutely.
that we will do for interior design.
That's right.
But Amit, I would also suggest that you attend tomorrow's webinar and explore all the opportunities that are available, because there are you also have the opportunity to go further in the graphic design space also, and enter UX design or motion graphics or digital brand communication. So I would just tell you that before you make up your mind about anything, do attend both the webinars. Dhwani?
Which subject should be taken up in 11th, 12th to pursue interior design?
Kanika, you want to take that?
I don't think anymore there is a very specific requirement of certain subjects to be taken in your 11th or 12th grade. A lot earlier, which is, I would say, 7 to 8 years back, there was a need for people to be from a science background to pick up architecture or a design field. But now there is no such requirement. So as far as you're interested in interior design, you can always join in. I'd also like to take in the next question from somebody who's not named themselves. That's fine. Somebody's asking, what is the difference between communication design and graphic design, or if they are the same? So I'd like to answer that by just mentioning that graphic design is just a subset of communication design, because as part of communication design, we're looking at not just graphics, but UX, UI, film and animation, graphics and publication, branding, advertising, a lot of these things. So everything from storytelling to character mapping to animation to building these characters to presenting them in different formats is what communication design comprises of, if that answers the question.
Thank you, Kanika ma'am. What is the percentage of job security if in this case?
Should I answer that?
Yes, please, Snehanshu, you're the best one to answer that.
You see, I would put it this way. Your job security is much higher in this field than in architecture today. And the main reason is that whatever new buildings had to be built have largely been built in this country. But the interiors will always change. Today, you have, even within a residential apartment, the owner, if the owner has any, wants to, or let me put it this way, the owner is aesthetically sensitive, would like to keep improving that apartment. And I think we've all faced this issue where mothers are the ones who at home tend to turn every bit of layout upside down. And very often I, for instance, never enjoyed the experience, but the fact is that it becomes better. So interiors is something that will always continue, whether new buildings have to be made or not, because you work with interiors or interior designs for existing spaces. That's one. Second is that it's very much an entrepreneurial course, because you don't, it has a very low investment to enter the field. You basically just need a table and a chair and maybe a computer, and that's about it. You don't even need an office to begin with. It's only when your number of projects increase that you have to hire staff that you may need an office. And today, with all this pandemic business, uh, even in my case, my office, we don't meet that often anymore. I mean, we have the office space for holding meetings and the office boy is there. But my architects now prefer to be at home because they save time commuting, they are more comfortable at home. And we do webinars like this, which are just like the way we expect to teach you. That's the way work is happening. So you can start off on your own very, very easily. It's just the confidence level that you require, which we hope the course is going to provide you. Because and the other thing I must mention here for all those who are here is that what you make of any course is how much you put into it. you know so the interest levels, as Kanika has been saying, is a very important factor for your signing up for this course. And one other small thing I'd like to say, that this course, it has been stressed earlier also, is that it's a synchronous learning course. It is not like a Udemy course that you pay a certain amount of money and then you can, join anytime or not join anytime. So I know people who sign up and then they don't complete the course because they don't get that instruction. They have nobody to ask. And you just keep looking at those videos and you don't even know if you're getting it right. And very often you are not able to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. It's convenient, but it is not wholesome, I would say. So that's the other thing to remember.
And Manisha has a doubt about diploma thing. So she's asking, what about the placements if she gets a diploma?
So I'll let Snehanshu answer that again, or Kanika, but I'll just add this one little thing that I've noticed, that, that in the industry values competency, and in design, your portfolio, your work experience, what you're able to do is always valued more than a degree or a diploma. Right, Snehanshu? I mean, I thought I'll just give you that little start, and then you can take it up.
Absolutely true. However, let me also clarify that if you were becoming an architect, then that degree is very important, because the registration with the Council of Architecture mandates a degree. However, for doing interior design, there is no such regulatory thing, number one. Number two, as Prachi very rightly said, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, which means that what you produce as your professional portfolio, which we would be guiding you through in the course. We'll teach you how to put together a professional portfolio. We will also be teaching you how to present to a client. See, finally, what works in design is the trust that the client is willing to place on the designer. And that trust is something that you need to build up by the quality of the work that you're able to show as work done. So that is precisely our interest in this course, to be able to teach you all. And that's why it's a course where you are doing things. It's not a lecture-based course. So what you do, we will train you as to how you present it in a professional way, so that when you make your presentation, it's at par with some of the best offices in this country. And all this, so, and of course, the thing is that this course is really like a launching pad for you. Finally, what you make of it eventually is your own inherent talents. And in any design field, you really learn through experience. No design field is ever, or learning in any design field is never completed with the course. As long as you remain active, you are learning something new, and that is how you improve.
So Snehanshu, the same person has followed it up by saying that she agrees to this, but are there any companies coming to hire the students? So I think what she's asking is also that will we provide that assistance? Yes. In fact, we already have a lot of a network of studios and architectural firms, etc., with whom our Snehanshu students either do internships or they get placed. So yes, we will provide that assistance to you for placement. But I mean, I think we are all insisting again and again that at the end of it, it is also, see, learning is a partnership. It's what we give you and what you make out of it, and that will come together for your placement, for your career. Dhwani, anything else?
I think that's all, ma'am, for now.
Yeah, so I hope we've managed to answer some of your questions, and I'd like to thank everybody.
Just a minute, ma'am. We have one question. Will you provide us the paid software to learn this?
Learn what? A software.
Okay, so I'll give you an answer. The software that we would encourage you to use, or let's say what we start you off on, will be licensed software, but they are the commons license in the sense that you don't need to pay for it. It'll be an authorized software, so that is not a problem. So there are several softwares that you begin your work with, and if you want advanced features, only then you need to subscribe. And the way we are going to teach it, you don't need the advanced features till you have spent a few years in the field, and maybe you require it later. So that's not a worry. You won't be using pirated software if that is the concern.
Anything
And
else?
what are the skills for interior design?
I think we just covered that. Kanika, do you want to just remind everybody of that? Kanika did cover that in a lot of detail in one of the slides. And I would suggest that you download the brochure and look at it. But Kanika, if you could just quickly remind everybody.
Sure. So as far as the skills are concerned, there are a lot of things that you will learn, which is from conceptualization to ideation. You'll be experimenting with spaces, which means you'd go from hand drawings to technical drawings. And again, this is because this is synchronous learning, you're doing both things. We'll make you do things by paper, everything that is going to be a part of your learning by making, as we said, so that your design thinking is tested at all stages. In addition to which, of course, you get a lot of knowledge of picking materials, furnishings, light fittings, as Nanshu mentioned earlier, and being able to refurbish your entire room or space, which could be a cafe, a residence, an office, anything and everything that you can think of. So a lot of skills are coming into the role when you start picking up in this course, I think, in various stages.
I'd like to add to that is that if you are wondering what are the prerequisites, there aren't any, because we hope to teach you all the things you need to learn within the course. So for instance, you don't need to be skilled in terms of sketching, if that is what is worrying you. So things like that are not a prerequisite for this course. Of course, if anybody has that already happening for them, that will only add value to your work, but it is not a requirement.
This looks like a well-timed session, right at the dot of 1 hour, I think. Dhwani, I hope, or maybe we can just wait for 30 seconds in case anybody thinks of another question.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dhwani, in the meanwhile, in the chat, if you want, you can leave a contact number that they can get in touch with us, with you or your team. And also the URL to our website, which is where you can read up details about the course. You can download brochure, and that's also where you can put in your online application. And And maybe Dhwani, tomorrow's, if you can also in the chat share the link to register for tomorrow's webinar, in case, because I think some of the participants today want to, check both.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just requesting everybody in the audience to keep an eye on the chat. Dhwani is posting this information for you. It's an exciting journey that you can begin, hopefully with us. But I think as a teacher, I would just want everybody to find their passion, find their area of interest, and pursue it. Whoever you choose as your partner, but that's my wish for all of you, that you find the space where which gives you joy, because it's when we choose a career, it's actually a lifelong relationship that we are beginning. So I do hope that all of you find your area of interest.
Prachi, I'd like to, while we're coming to a concluding session at this time, I think the fun fact I'd like to share is that a lot of the people maybe in the audience, if are working professionals, might have heard that interior design as a profession has now become very popular as a science to reduce stress and fatigue. So if you are a person who's probably stressed looking at the interior of your home or your workplace or the room that you sit in or the room that you work in, because we've been through the pandemic very recently, then probably this is your chance to transform your life more than anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time, and have a good evening. Dhwani, I
Yes,
leave it
ma'am.
to close the.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you, Snehanshu sir. Thank you, Kanika ma'am, Prachi ma'am.
Thank you, Dhwani.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.